Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to Life After Mental Illness. My name's Bill MacPhee, your mental health recovery expert, where there is life after mental illness, and recovery is when you wouldn't want to be anyone else other than who you are today. In today's vlog, I basically talked about suicide and depression. So you'll be really amazed at how many people in the U.S. commit suicide every single year. It's amazing. And tomorrow, I want you to come back. Tomorrow, I'm just going to basically talk about two speaking engagements that I have coming up. You might have somebody near that area, near those areas that you might want to let know. So I'm going to give you some advance notice of a couple speaking engagements coming up. Anyways, thanks and have a great day. Bye-bye for now. Hey, hi everybody. As I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about depression and suicide. But before I go into that, I just want to read you a couple correspondence that I received. This one's from Madeline. She says, "Hi Bill, I hope you are well. I have ordered 2 books with bonus DVDs, and to date I have only received 1 book and 1 DVD. Do you know when I can expect the second one to fulfill the order?" Well, I just want to tell you, Madeline, we looked into that, and there was a glitch in the system, and the 2 books weren't recognized, so we got the other book that you ordered in DVD in the mail for you. So that's going on. So thank you for your inquiry. And she also says, Madeline says, "By the way, great job on those videos. I'm amazed at all that you do. Keep on doing it." Well, thank you, Madeline. Thank you for that. And this letter comes from Faye, and Faye says, "Warmest greetings, Bill. I really enjoy and have learned a lot from your mental health site and presentations. I've been a fan of your magazine and you for years. Thank you for getting this extremely important message out. Wishing you continued success in your excellent work. With great appreciation and kindest regards." Well, thank you, Faye, for that. Thank you for sending that. Okay, I want to tell you that last year in the USA, there's like 40,000 suicides. That's a year, and that's a lot of suicides. That's like where I live. That's like Fort Erie, Ridgeway, Crystal Beach, Stevensville, Black Creek, all put together with a total population of 40,000. That's like my whole area where I live. Every year is gone. Every 12 months. 12 months, think of that, there's 40,000 suicides. Way, way, way too much. And you know, we talk about, at least I talk about recovery being when you wouldn't want to be anybody else other than who you are today. Well, it just so happens that that's what happens when people are are thinking about suicide. You can bet that they wish that they were anybody else rather than who they were at that moment when they're thinking about taking their lives. But let's get into this a little bit more deeper, and I can tell you I do have experience. I did have a suicide attempt. I OD'd on my medication. I took a whole bunch of pills. I wrote a suicide note. All that's in my biography, in my book that I wrote, and my suicide notes there and everything. And I want to tell you that at that time I wish I was anybody other than who I was. But now, with our recovery, I wouldn't want to be anybody else who I am today, other than who I am today. Okay, let's talk about suicide and depression. So, depression is, first of all, when we are very suicidal, we are in a lot of pain, and we really feel that there's hopelessness, that it's so dark, that we're trapped in a prison of darkness, and we are not thinking straight at all. We're not thinking straight, and we definitely have no hope, and we're just so down that suicide seems like it's the only answer. And it's at a bad point when you think that you're in a bad state that way. Now, I want to just kind of touch on suicide and just explain something to you as well about it. Sometimes when people commit suicide, it's not willfully done on their part. And let me explain that. When I was ill, one day I was walking down the street with my psychosis, and I thought that I had to go out in front of cars to prove myself to God. So what happened is I went out on the street and I started walking toward the cars, and it was nighttime and the headlights were coming and there were trucks and cars and they're swerving. It was snowy out, it was winter, and they were swerving around, blowing their horns, and I was walking right into the traffic. You see, I didn't want to die. That wasn't really my true suicide attempt. My suicide attempt came when I took OD'd on all my medication. But with this attempt out on the highway, you see, if I would have been hit or killed by a car, been hit and killed, most people would say, oh, Bill was out on the street walking into traffic. He wanted to commit suicide that way. But no, you see, I didn't want to die. It was just my sick mind, my psychosis, my delusions that put me into that situation that would have took my life. And you say, well, why is that so important? Why is that important? Well, that's important for parents or siblings who have lost somebody that you know through suicide to say, well, maybe they really didn't want to die. Maybe it was their psychotic state or their delusions that took them into the situation that took their life. And that can be very comforting to people. Okay. Want to go over to depression. Now, they tell us that depression will be the number one cause of disability by the year 2020, more than heart disease and stroke. So, depression, if you've never been in a deep depression, you never want to go there. And it's very, very, very hard. It's not as if you're a weak person, snap out of it, you just need a kick in the rear. Sometimes what happens is that with depression, there's a chemical imbalance. Not all the time, but there's a chemical imbalance that causes chronic depression. I can remember being in group therapy many, many years ago, and there'd be some people there, there'd be probably a lady in her 50s, and she was a housewife. Her husband had a business, had a good job, no financial problems, no kid problems, no problems in their life, yet she was depressed. And people would say, well, you got no problems. What are you depressed about? What are you depressed about? You have no reason to be depressed. But that's where this lady had the chemical imbalance that caused that depression. Okay. Some of the things about depression, some of the thoughts is that when we are in a depression, we think it's never going to end. We think that it can never get so darker, so hopeless, so our self-esteem is non-existent, our confidence is non-existent, and our focus and our vision is so narrow. With depression in that stage, molehills become mountains. Certain obstacles seem like mountains. I can remember, thinking I had like $10 to put gas in my car for the month or something like that. And, you think, oh, that's the reason for committing suicide. You can't go on anymore, when you're depressed. But every teenager in the world who has a car and goes to school only has $10 to put gas into their car, and they're not depressed or suicidal. So what happens is that molehills truly become mountains, and we're overwhelmed when we are depressed. When we're depressed, we just have blinders on, and we're so focused on ourselves. We're focused on ourselves because the pain is so hard, and it truly is pain and suffering when you are very, very depressed. Now, I told you before with the chronic illness. Okay, don't get me wrong here. I want to tell you that depression if left alone, will eventually go away. However, here's the danger part. However, suicide is very, very common with people with depression. But there's antipsychotics, antidepressants that possibly can help when you're in a deep, deep depression. For example, I mentioned that depression will eventually go away, but the dangerous part is that before the depression goes away, it may be so bad that you end your life. That's when antidepressants have to come in. And antidepressants basically try to lift your mood or your spirits. Sometimes it takes a long time before they work. In my case, I was on antidepressants, but I got to tell you, I didn't think they worked. I think that I was just so deep, dark, down, and depressed that nothing brought me out with that medication. It just seemed, and maybe it did lift me out a bit, and maybe that's what happened. But I'm just saying, I was so depressed that I didn't recognize the difference. But that just goes to show you that you still need to take that, so you don't get so suicidal and commit suicide before you get better, before the depression goes away. Okay. I also want to tell you that there's what's known as situational depression. We have a chemical component to depression, a real chemical illness, but then there's situational depression, and situational depression has to do with your life. One of the things in combating depression is what we have to understand is that we have to have the attitude that there's always a way. There's always a way. We need to put the attitude in no matter what's going on in our lives, no matter what's going on in our surroundings, that there's always a way. Even though we don't believe that at the time, we need to really believe that there's always a way. We've got to get that take that model. There's always a way. That's very important. Okay. With depression and suicide, one of the things that is very common, and one of the reasons is that people's lives are so narrow. People's lives are so focused on themselves and their current situation that they don't realize that there's so much out there to live for. And so really, a lot of people who are depressed are so narrow focused that they don't know that there's always a way, and there's a whole great big life out there. So what I'm saying in that situation is that we need to expand our boundaries. We need to really understand that this world has a lot to offer in so many ways. We can't just be focused and have the blinders on in our depression. Now, sometimes, like I said, sometimes depressions are situational, and sometimes people just need a good thing to happen to them to get them out of a depression or to change their ways. Very important. I'm going to wrap up here, but it's very important if you're going to overcome depression is that we need to be problem solvers. People who have been in depression and who have recovered with their depression basically has, sorry, my phone's going off here. Alright, sorry about that. So basically, people need to expand their world. They need to expand their world and have a variety of friends, a variety of outlets, and different things like that. Very important. We need to become problem solvers. And people who do well with depression learn how to solve problems. And that's very, very important. We always got to remember there's always a way, and we have to solve problems. That's what we do in life. Life is all about, life and business basically has the same definition, you know that? And that definition is, in business you solve problems one after the other, and in life you solve problems one after the other. That's the definition of life. Life and business are similar because what we do is we solve problems all the time. So with depression, we have to look at it as a problem, and we have to say that there's always a way. If we're so deep, we need to take antidepressants and realize that depression will eventually go away. So hopefully that has helped you understand depression a little bit and some of the areas of it. So I'm going to end there and just tell you though that there is life after mental illness, and recovery is when you wouldn't want to be anyone else other than who you are today. Have a great day. Hi, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And also be able to send me your questions at bill@billmacphee.ca. As well, for more information, go to billmacpheerecoveryexpert.com. Links will be in the description below. Come back for another vlog tomorrow, and remember, recovery is when you wouldn't want to be anybody else other than who you are today. And there is life after mental illness. Have a great day.